What's going on, family? Thank you for rocking with me tonight. I am Sir Ashley. How do I do this? There we go. I am Sir Ashley, and tonight we're going to talk about housing crashes. We're going to go through all of them, the six we've had prior. And we're going to talk about, recessions, the six recessions we've had prior. We're going to talk about housing crashes, and we're going to talk about inflation and touch on jobs real quick. So if you're here with me tonight, please hit that like button, share this video with others, and leave a comment. Something's going on with my screen, so I can't see comments right now. So forgive me. Let me try to figure this out. I thought it would pop up once I went live, but it did not. All right, we'll get to it. We'll get to it later. Let's get right into it. Talking about housing crashes and the recession. You've seen the headlines, you see the news talking about a housing crash coming and how we're suffering a recession, how housing is unaffordable, so prices have to come down. Well, we've heard that all before. And I'm not talking about the past 2 years. We heard it 08, 09, and they were correct. Housing did crash. But we talked about the reasons why it crashed, the unethical loans. Basically, if you could breathe, you could get qualified for a mortgage, how they didn't verify incomes, and a lot of adjustable rate mortgages at the time. As of the beginning of this year, none of those things were prevalent in today's mortgage market or in the housing market. You had about 2% of the loans at the beginning of this year were adjustable rate mortgages. That has gone up. It has doubled. So what, 4 to 5% right now are adjustable rate mortgages. We have very stringent loan guidelines. It's very hard for people to get approved for a loan. As you saw, when the interest rates went up, 18 million buyers had to bow out of the housing market because they could not get approved for a loan. I'm trying to pull this up so I can see, make sure my other computer's on mute, so I can see what you all are seeing, so I can see comments and try to reply to comments. What's going on, Christina? Thank you for coming. Oh, if you're here and you do not follow Christina Smallhorn, please go to her channel and follow her. Subscribe to her page. I'm actually going to be a guest on her show this Sunday. So she has been gracious enough to invite me. And I hope, Christina, hope you feel better. Get well. She is suffering from COVID right now, so I hope she gets better. So I appreciate you, Christina. What's up, Martin? What's going on? All right. So I was talking about what we don't see in the market right now. And I saw this follow on Twitter. His name is Lance Lambert. He's an editor for Fortune magazine. And I will let him do the talking right now. He actually posted an article. The thumbnail to this video was the headline, and it could have read as if it was coming from today. The headline was actually from 1981. And 81, if those of you who are unfamiliar with the late 70s and 80s, we had 2 recessions. We had sky high inflation. Energy costs were through the roof. Does that sound familiar to today? Energy costs through the roof, gas prices. We are technically not in a recession, technically in a recession, however you want to put it. You Americans, we feel the pain. I believe it feels like a recession, whether or not it technically is or not. But In the 80s, late 70s and 80s, home prices kept going. And we had the headlines and fearmongers come to the forefront. And I don't know if you can see this. It was the coming collapse is already here. That sounds like every other pundit. I'm thinking of a few YouTube channels right now that have these similar headlines, and for every week there's a different reason why there should be a housing crash. And this just goes to show that they're not doing anything new. Fear drives in clicks, drives in views. It causes people to react. And unfortunately, it causes people to be frozen and to not act. They're not acting on what they should act. And in reality, these people calling for a crash didn't realize that the past 2 years were the best time in our country to buy a home because mortgage interest rates were the lowest they've ever been. See, we buy homes, Americans, we buy everything for the most part on payment. We don't care about the price. We care about what is it going to cost us monthly. And that's how people buy homes. Yeah, I feel the pain too here. I'm in actually South Carolina, but here in North Carolina, South Carolina, we definitely feel the pain with inflation. So this just to say that there's nothing new. And if I scroll this back out, he goes on to say, talks about the 80s and high interest rates. And we now know what happened in the 1980s, even though they said collapse is already here, the housing market is going to crash. What happened was prices kept going up. Even though inflation was sky high, unemployment was sky high. And that's why I want to talk about a recession and jobs right now. We've seen all throughout the news, all these companies laying off thousands and thousands of people. So in order to cool down inflation, we're going to have people not spend as much. And how do they not spend as much? Well, they don't have a job. Unfortunately, they can't spend as much money. So that's one way to curb inflation. So even though with sky high inflation, even though there was high unemployment, I believe it was 7.8%. We're going to touch on an article that gets all into it. Home prices in the 70s, late 70s and 80s, damn near doubled. And home prices in the past 24 months, nationally I'm speaking, has gone up 42%. Is that healthy? Absolutely not. I don't believe that's healthy. I don't believe the double-digit equity in home prices is healthy. But that doesn't mean if it slows down, that doesn't mean it's a crash. I just saw something, Brian Liebel, I believe his name, from out of Las Vegas, talked about a housing crash in Vegas and scared everybody talking about a housing crash. And there was a crash in Vegas going on, talking about right now. And the crash was in transactions. There was 40% less transactions in June in Las Vegas, June 2022, compared to June of 2021. Now, it's unfair to compare any year to 2020 and 2021 because we were going through a pandemic, but we're human, we're going to compare it. So yes, there was a 40% decrease. What's going on, Jay? How you doing? 40% decrease in transactions. So housing technically did crash. It came to almost a standstill, theoretically speaking. We're still on pace to do what we did in 2019, which in the mortgage, in the real estate industry, everybody thought 2019 was a good year. But he did not talk about pricing. Pricing, while it has gone down 3% from May 2022, talking about in Vegas, to June 2022, it actually went up 15% compared to June of 2021. So if that's a crash, only going up 15%, then by all means. I don't know the definition of a crash. So that's why I just don't see a housing crash happening in 2022. Now for 2023, or I'll say middle half of 20, say what, second quarter, and then later on in 2023, I'm unsure what's going to happen. I need to see what happens with inflation, the Fed. There's too many moving parts to be able to predict that far out. But I can confidently say, and I've confidently said all year, that we are not going to have a housing crash in prices in 2022. But let's go on and see what happened during the last few recessions here in America. So let's first look at the Great Depression. The economy fell and home prices fell with the Great Recession. Let me see if I can put me a picture in picture. Technology is getting the best of me right now. There we go. Let's see if I can scroll this down. Here we are. All right. So yes, during the Great Depression, home prices lost their value because of how loans were made at the time. They weren't on a 30-year mortgage. They were on like a 7-year mortgage. And they were lump sum payments, and not everybody could afford those payments at the time because it was a depression. But then that's when the federal government came involved and helped create the 30-year mortgage to allow you to pay on your home over that 30-year period. So that is a big difference than what's happening now. So while home prices did lose their value during the Great Depression, that's not an apples to apples comparison because they were on a different system than what we're presently experiencing right now. So during I don't know what's that guy is doing. Sorry. So during the early 70s, 1973, 1975, we had a recession and GDP slowed, declining 3.8%. But what happened to home prices? During that time, new home sales increased by 7.5%. And by the end of 1975, when the recession ended, it had risen 11.7%. So even just because we're going through a recession, if you want to call it that or not, by all means, I am. That doesn't mean home prices are going to go down based on history. You have the early 70s. Also, energy pricing, houses kept going up. Recession of the 80s, we had stagflation, and that's what, unfortunately, I think that's where we're headed as far as we're going to head towards stagflation, and we can talk about that in future videos. Unemployment was at 7.8%, as you see here. But home prices increased 4.5%. So again, I think that, where am I at right here? I believe that this housing market, the economy we're in right now, is more closely related to the 70s and 80s than it is to 2008. Just the different factors that put our economy in its present position is more along the lines of 70s and 80s as opposed to 2008. Now, while again, I don't think home prices growing at double digits is healthy, I don't believe that we're going to have a recession. I believe home prices, the growth needs to slow down to a more healthy pace. 3 to 5% would be welcome. Anywhere in the single digits would be welcomed at this point. But to say that we're going to have a 20 to 30% crash in the next few months is absolutely in home prices is absolutely ridiculous because I believe the most home prices has crashed in a calendar year is only 8% nationally. I'm not talking about different pockets in the country. So nationally, only 8% has it fallen ever in one year. So for some people to call for 20, 30% by the end of the year, just don't understand how housing works. You can't, it takes a while to sell a home. Let's go back to this right here. So we have in the early 80s, first time home buyers, interest rates were double digits at the time. So now people are complaining about right now what I saw low fives, mid fives this past week. People are complaining about that. Only reason why we are complaining about the interest rates being in the fives is because we were spoiled in the past year, 2 years, with the lowest interest rates we've ever seen. Um, Prior to that, I would say a 5% interest rate was welcomed. Now it says we saw with the people that did not take advantage of the twos and threes or even fours are upset or can't qualify in the fives. Um, Here we go. 81. You had the energy crisis, recession, and that's similar to what we're experiencing right now. To reiterate what I said earlier, gas prices, fuel prices, energy prices skyrocketed. That's what we're experiencing right now. And that's why I believe we are more closely aligned to this period than 2007, 2008, 2009. Because if you looked at the factors of what caused that recession, that is nothing like what we're experiencing right now. Yes, yes, Christina, I agree with you. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button and leave a comment. Just tell me where you're watching from, where you're viewing from, and let me know if you watch Townhouse Tuesday. Townhouse Tuesday, it's a cult favorite. It's not really a fan favorite. I get the least amount of views on Townhouse Tuesday, but the people that love it, and they get mad when I don't put it out, even though it was Wednesday today when I put it out, and I got messages about it. Mr. V, what happened to the administration's promises to first-time home buyers? I've been seeing. Good question, and I wish I can put it on the screen right now. I'm having trouble with technology. That's why I was a little late. That's why I had to move it to 8:45 as opposed to the 8:30. Um, right now, well, I believe and I believe people need help, and first time home buyers need some assist. A lot of first time home buyers need assistance. Personally, I believe right now would be an awful time to provide that assistance. So I believe they're holding off and waiting on it. Um, well, right now, because well, one party has all three branches of government right now. If that changes in November, then something else may hinder it, right? Um, but if you add first-time home buyers incentives or grants or anything like that to the market, and presently or even in the past 2 years, people have been complaining about prices now being crazy. Just think about if you're like, hey, I'll give people $25,000 or $10,000 tax break. That would drive even more people to the market to buy, and there's already not enough homes. Now, while we have seen an influx of homes hit the market in the past 2 months, we are still very, very short as far as supply. I believe I read an article 2 weeks ago from Logan. His name is Logan. I can't pronounce his last name, from Housing Wire. He was talking about how savagely unhealthy the housing market is because right now I believe we have 1.5 million homes, 1.3, 1.4 million homes, and projected to have 1.5 by the end of the summer. But to have even a sort of a whole healthy market, we need about 1.9 to 2 million homes active on the market for sale for it to be somewhat balanced. So if the government, I say we, if the government or if we, the people, wanted first time home buyers incentives, that would bring more buyers to the market for an already small amount of properties, and home prices would still just go up even higher. So I believe would have a negative impact right now. Now we'll see as we go further on into the administration and what happens with inflation, what exactly occurs. But um, that's what I see right now. And Christina says there's not enough affordable housing on the lower end. I definitely agree. There isn't. And affordable right now is actually, I saw some homes recently for like 200, 250 in the Charlotte area. And they were just run down. They weren't worth that. They were never worth that, and it's a shame because people that can qualify. I have a client right now reached out, qualified. They has what four or five kids, and wants a 4 bedroom, but only can qualify for $200,000. And there's nothing within an hour, maybe an hour and a half of Charlotte that can satisfy her needs. So you're 100% correct, Christina. There's not enough low end affordable housing, and I'm not quite sure how we bring that to the market, the affordable housing to the market. Um, while building costs have gone down, I saw today where lumber, that was the big craze last summer, how lumber prices spiked and was what, maybe, I don't want to exaggerate, 1,600 dollars. Well, now they're back down to about five, maybe a little bit below $500 per thousand boards, per hundred of thousand boards, one of them. So lumber prices have come down drastically, but yet we don't see home prices. Actually, new builders have been reducing prices recently, but we don't see it to the effect to where it comes back and correlates to what it costs to build the home, because they're selling that same home for $150,000 less last year. So yes, they can cut back 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 and still make a very hefty profit. Um, so let's go on and look at back here, energy recession. We had 1990s, early 90s. We had a recession. GDP fell 1.5%. And the nominal home price actually went down almost a whole percent. Real prices in some areas fell as much as 7% in some parts of the country. So in the early 90s, we did see a slight drop in the price of homes. And again, real estate is, let me go big. I'm over here talking to you like you can see me. Real estate is very hyper local. So I'm speaking on the national level. You will see pockets where home prices will come down, like what, Boise, maybe, Salt Lake City, maybe Phoenix. Um, what will be telling, and reason why I think we're in a much different place than 08, 09, 07 is back then you had forced sellers, meaning people had to sell because they were facing foreclosure. And most recently, I saw like 4 or 5 video headlines talking about this wave of foreclosures happening, or how foreclosures are up 150% or 712%. Yes, foreclosure filings are up that much. Do you know how long it takes a foreclosure to go through the system? Man, in North Carolina, it takes, a homeowner can drag this out. It could take almost 2 years before a foreclosure actually goes for sale to the auction to be sold. Now, it can be filed. You can have the notice of default filed, but to think that that house is going to get foreclosed on and auctioned is very rare because, as I said earlier, home prices in the past 2 years have gone up 42, or home values have gone up 42%. So even if they're late on their payment, defaulted on their payment on their loan, if I'm them, this is, you can tell me if I'm wrong in the chat or not. But if I'm them, I'm like, hey, if I don't have the funds right now, I have two options. I can wait it out, I can stall it, keep prolonging things, get continuances in the court, do whatever I need to do, and live without a house payment, technically, because you're not making a payment, for as long as that is, and then sell at the end because I have so much equity. Or I could sell right away and take that equity, even if I bought in the past year, at least in the Charlotte area, you have about 14, 15% of equity. And then let's say you pay a realtor and pay all the fees. Okay, that's what, 7, 8% that takes out of that. I mean, you still have a 5% profit in there that you're not going to go to quote unquote foreclosure. Yes, a foreclosure has been filed on you, but you're not going to experience a foreclosure. So all these videos talking about, this increase in foreclosure filings, they are correct factually, but for them to present it as if those homes are going to be hitting the market and they're actually going to get foreclosed on, causing a wave of inventory, no, those people are just going to sell traditionally. And if you saw recently that what the Fed put out that they're raising 75 basis points last week, and what happened with mortgage rates after that? They actually went down. So that actually brought quite a few buyers to the market momentarily because they saw the rates go down. Now they have gone up a little bit in the past 2 days, but it's a very tricky market right now. But I want to set people's expectations properly and by looking at history to do so, not by emotion or by fear. Just logically look at the circumstances of why we're in the current situation we're in and juxtapose that to when have we experienced a similar situation in history and what happened during those times. So again, nobody's asking anybody, if you're not a real estate professional, to be a real estate professional, be an expert in real estate, but I do want you just aware of what's going on so you're not distracted. Sorry, tough to say the word. Distracted by all the negative news or the headlines. Let me get to some of these questions. Christina says she thinks Phoenix is going to get hit and sooner than we thought. And I tend to agree with that. I think one reason why I tend to agree with you is I'm sure you saw some articles and some news where Open Door they're very big. Open Door, the house buying company, they're very big in Vegas and Phoenix. And they actually have quite a bit of homes here in the Charlotte market as well. Not as much compared to Phoenix and Vegas. And what they just got hit with a $62 million fine. Was it million or billion? I'm not sure. Fine, a huge fine recently for deceptive acts by the FTC, deceptive advertising by the FTC. So yes, they are getting hit by quite a different things. One, their model was flawed. They bought things too high of a price and they could not turn around and sell it fast enough to make a profit. And then two, they have all these other pressures going on, getting fined and having to pay millions and millions of dollars. So yes, that market, there's going to be pockets. There's going to be pockets. That's yes, I mean closed door. Yes, it's going to be closed door. It's not going to be open anymore. And I'm not going to lie. Back in, it had to be 2016, maybe 17. I ended up, I had a flip and I did my numbers wrong. I thought I could make something work and all that. It just wasn't going to work. So what did I end up doing? I I ended up selling to Open Door. I look, I wasn't gonna. I sold it open door, and I didn't take a loss. I ended up making a few $1,000s. So everything's not a home run. Everything in real estate is not sunshine and rainbows. But I knew that yes, I failed in my assessment, but I also knew that Open Door overpaid for properties, and I just sold it to them and made a profit and got out of the game as far as that property goes. I'm looking at some of your questions. I can't see it on the screen right here, so I'm looking. So just talking about home builders right now. Home builders right now, at least in the Charlotte area, if you are a real estate professional or know, please let me know what it's like in your area. Real estate, I mean, home builders presently are making homes about 1,700 square feet to maybe 2,300 square feet, but they're charging they're charging their asking price for those homes is astronomical compared to what it was 3 4 5 years ago. For that size home, that would have been your affordable housing that Christina was talking about, whereas the 2,500 square foot up to what 4,000 square feet would have been the more expensive luxury type homes. But now they are over here charging asking prices for that same home for luxury prices. And I get it, inflation and all that, but that is where the affordable housing is. They just kept up with the price, kept upping the price. There was a community here in Charlotte, Parkside Crossing by Pulte. I know it because had it on my radar for a year, and they were supposed to come out with prices in the threes. That's what all the marketing said. Coming summer 2022 starting in the 300s. And I had a couple clients again, like this is the community you want to look out for. This is it. And it was in the Still Creek area. If anybody people familiar with Charlotte, I'm like very nice area. I love the Still Creek area. And then right before they released sales in the property, they were selling them in the fives. So I'm like, that hurt. It was a blow because I definitely had 2 3 clients where they've been waiting and waiting and waiting to buy a home, and I saw this and they saw it. It was on all their marketing that they were going to start in the threes, and when they came to market, they were in the fives. So that would have been a quote unquote, at least for the Charlotte area, affordable or semi-affordable type of home. Um, Talking about recessions and inflation, please put in the chat, what is the gas price where you're at right now? Have you been seeing it come down? One of one of my best friends is actually, don't hold it against me or hold it against him. He works in Washington, and he's been working on getting stuff passed to lower the price of gas. Um, and I've seen he's been telling me how one, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm a little detached. I drive an electric car, but I've been told that the gas prices have been coming down, and as I drive past the pump, at least here in South Carolina, right on the border of North and South Carolina, prices have been coming down in their gas prices. Yeah, under four in Atlanta, under four. That's a solid. I mean, it's not great. It's not in the twos where it was, last year. But last year, again, demand was there wasn't much demand because nobody was going anywhere. We were on shutdown. So yes, we had low prices for gas and fuel because there wasn't a demand. When there is a demand, that's when you raise prices. That's what we see with the housing market going on right now. Okay, so it is coming down from the high. I've had people in California, a good friend is also in San Diego, talking about crazy, crazy gas prices. JC looking to buy in the Charlotte suburb in 2023. please reach out to me. We would love to help. It is very hard to try to navigate what's going to happen in middle, or even I'll say after the first quarter of 2023. Uh, Further we get into 2022, I'll be able to at least pontificate and try to tell you what I think would happen based on the tea leaves and what's happening in the economy. But yeah, no, let's definitely keep in touch. Reach out to us. We can help you. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on this tonight because not Logan. This was actually Lance Lambert. He he made me smile. He made me smile. I'm not gonna lie with this article when he posted this headline because I was like, this is something we see. This could be a headline from the New York Times today or the Wall Street Journal. Um, I'm looking around because I get the Wall Street Journal every single day, and it's typically by my foot. So that could have been a headline, uh, but it was from 1981, and home prices. Little did they know they're talking about a crash. Actually, kept going up. So be aware of your surroundings. Know what's going on. Don't act on fear. Think logically. If you need a place to live, do an assessment as far as what is the rent cost and what will it cost you to buy a home. And not saying tune out the noise, know what's going on. But your situation is specific to you and you alone. So don't be swayed. It is always best to buy real estate and wait, as opposed to wait and buy real estate. Do you think those people that bought at the top of the market in the late 70s, early 80s, when the interest rates were 18%, do you think they wanted to at the time? No, I'm sure they didn't. Like, they weren't gung ho talking about, yes, I get to go ahead and buy this home with an 18% interest rate. But what did it accomplish for them? It gave them shelter, it gave them a roof over their head, and as they held on to it, they gained appreciation and equity in the property. You don't hear anybody right now complaining that bought a home in the 70s complaining about, man, I shouldn't have bought that home. No, you're going to need a place to stay. Your family's going to need a place to stay. Look at the numbers because you're going to be paying a mortgage one way or another. It just depends on if it's your mortgage or not. And I mean, if you're not going to be in a certain location more than, I say, 2, 3 years, by all means, yes, rent if you don't plan on being there long term. But if you plan on being there for 2 or more years, if the numbers work in your scenario, in your case, I believe that it's just wise and prudent for you to own because you get to capitalize. Property owners right now are capitalizing on this inflation. Inflation helps the rich or property owners get richer. Why? Because the way our system is worked out is you buy a home at a set price, even if you overpaid for it, you bought it, it's that price. You have hopefully you got a 30-year mortgage. You have a fixed payment. At least principal is fixed. Now, taxes may go up periodically, insurance may go up periodically, but your principal and interest are fixed. Rents are going up crazy high right now. I just saw a report. Actually, I have it pulled up here. See if I can. I don't know if I closed out of it or not. Yeah, here we go. Real quick. Rent prices are not cooling off. Rents are only going up higher and higher and higher. Now, the past year, it's only gone up. I say only, a little facetiously, only 13%. Your mortgage, once you lock it in, it's not going to go up 13%. And if you're like most Americans, over time, you're going to earn more money, and that means that bill or the percentage of your mortgage will be less of your total overall income, which you have to pay, and you're paying down your mortgage. So you're creating equity by paying down the mortgage. And with inflation, it's gone up. What? Equity has gone up 42% in the past 2 years. You're gaining value that way as well. So to avoid paying 13.4% year over year, and that was a light year compared to the past couple, it may make sense for you to own. I hope this was helpful. Um, I will I will try to get my technology fixed. I apologize. Please like this video, subscribe to the page, and go to Christina Smallhorn's channel, follow her, and check us out on Sunday. I'm not sure if she's still there. What time are we getting on live on Sunday, Christina? I know it's the same time every week. I'm just awful with remembering. But check out Christina Smallhorn's channel. I will be live with her on Sunday where we talk about the housing market, and she talks more about affordable housing, which is a huge need, and different creative ways in which you can create your own affordable housing for you and your family. I hope you enjoy your evening. It is what, 9:30? It is 30 minutes till my bedtime. I wake up around 4:30 every day. So I will talk to you later. Y'all have a good night.